So today we are going to go over the UC application. We're going to review the overview of the UC system and the application itself. We're going to briefly talk about the entrance requirements, which include the A through G, subject requirements, the GPA, and testing. And then we will go into a little bit more detail on different sections of the application. We will talk about the personal insight questions, avoiding common mistakes, fee waiver eligibility, and then we'll provide you with additional resources and information that you could use once you're ready to go ahead and start filling out that application, okay? And just as a reminder, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and sign in to this workshop. There's a link that should be in the chat box with the sign in, okay? So it's really important for everybody to sign in. Okay, so an overview of the UC system. So there are 10 campuses in the state of California, 10 UC campuses. 9 of those UC campuses offer undergraduate and graduate education. UCSF is the only one that is only open to graduate and professional applicants. So this is a school that, for example, you wouldn't be able to apply to as of yet. So if you're interested later on in getting a master's degree or a professional degree, then you would be eligible to apply to UCSF. UC campuses are more research-based than, are typically known as being more research-based than the CSU campuses. They offer over 800 degree programs. And one of the things that we really want to emphasize to all of you is that we want to make sure that you research and visit the UC campuses that you're planning on applying to. And so we've included a few important links on here, and I'm going to go ahead and minimize my screen so I can access those links and just show you really quickly what information they offer. So if you click here, it'll take you to the campuses and majors, which we will talk a little bit more about. But here you can do a lot of exploring on the different majors that are offered at the different campuses. So you see there's a lot of information here. There's a lot of links, so you can do some exploration that way. And we will talk a little bit more about campuses and majors later, but I just wanted to show you that link. And then if you want to participate in a virtual campus tour, that would be that second link there. It takes you to this document. And for instance, if you're interested in visiting or looking into UC Davis, then you click on the link there and it takes you to a virtual campus tour. And so you may not be able to see it, to hear it very well from my screen share, but when you click on it on your device, you'll be able to get. So you actually get a tour guide, an actual student at the university that walks you through the school. And if you look at this left-hand column here, you can see all of the different buildings that you could visit. And so you can hop onto any different buildings if you're interested in doing that, okay? So you can do that for every school site. So those are really important links, and we highly encourage you to visit those and do as much campus exploration as possible before throughout the application process. Okay. Another way that you can get more information on specific campuses is by participating in Hartnell College. In the Hartnell College College Night, they have this every single year. This year, obviously, they will have a virtual college fair. They just announced this today, and it's taking place October 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. And you register through the link that's in the middle of this flyer here. So this is the link where you would register. You can, it's not an active link, so you can just copy and paste this into your search link, and then it'll take you to the event registration. They will have about 40 university representatives that will be there to connect with you live. So it'll be a similar format as the one we're doing today. You can connect with them live. They have short presentations for you, and then they make time for questions and answers. So if, say, for instance, you're interested in UC Davis and you want to hop onto their presentation, you can do so by visiting this, by participating in this event. Okay, so that is the information there. And this has also been posted in the Senior Google Classroom. So in the Senior Google Classroom, you could also get a list of all of the different universities that will be at this college event. Okay, so very important, and another great way of getting to know a little bit more about the specific school that you're interested in. So now we'll talk a little bit about entrance requirements. And these are basically what we know as A through G subject requirements. There's also a GPA component and a college entrance exam component. So we'll review this briefly. So for A through G subject requirements, you can see all of the different subjects that are required and how many years of each. So when you look at the courses here, 2 courses is equivalent to 2 years. 4 courses is equivalent to 4 years. So if we go one at a time, we can start off with history. So in order to be eligible to apply to a 4-year university directly after high school, you would need to meet the following criteria, okay? So you would need 2 years of history, 4 years of English, and if there are any of you that were former ELD students, you can use 1 year of ELD as a year of English for this requirement. Mathematics is 3 years. And so it could include algebra, geometry, or intermediate algebra, which is a traditional math that we no longer have. But we do offer the integrated math. So a math 1, 2, and 3 would satisfy this math requirement. Then we have science, and the requirement is that you complete 2 years of science from 2 different disciplines. So the biology, so it would be the life science and then the physical science. So an example would be biology and chemistry would fulfill this requirement. Then language other than English, we know as world language or foreign language. And so again, this is similar to our graduation requirement, which requires 2 years of that foreign language, and it has to be the same language. For visual and performing arts, you are required 1 year, just like you are for the high school graduation requirements. And then a college prep elective would be 1 year as well. And a college prep elective can be chosen from one of the fields above. So it could be an additional year of math, an additional year of science, an additional year of language. And it's also very important to point out, and this is not in the presentation, or it's not documented on this slide, is that the UCs do recommend that you take an additional year of math. So they'd like to see 4 years instead of the 3. They'd like to see an additional year of science. So they'd like to see 3 instead of the 2. And then an additional year of that world language or language other than English. Okay, so that's really important to note. So freshman applicants are required to complete the minimum of 15-year-long A through G courses with the grade of C or better in grades 9 through 12. So what this means to you is if you look at your transcript, or if you think back to your transcript, if you ever earned a D throughout high school in an A through G course, so this would be almost anything with the exception of PE, you want to make sure that you have cleared or made up that class and earned a C or better. So they only take letter grades of C or better. Okay, so if you see that you have a D on your transcript, check in with your counselor and see if you have to make that up. Okay. And so the other two entrance requirements for applying to the UC directly after high school are the GPA and testing requirement. So students that are applying directly after high school must earn a GPA of 3.0 or better, and this is for California residents. And no grade lower than a C. And most of you will fall into this category of California resident. If you're not sure if you're a California resident, there is a link here that you can go to get more information on that, or you can also check with your counselor. And if you are not a California resident, then the GPA requirement is slightly higher at a 3.4. Now, the testing requirement, we all know that for this year, it is optional. So freshman applicants for this fall have the option to submit the SAT and ACT scores if they have them. Applicants will not be penalized in the admission review process if they don't submit these scores. And subject tests are not required, but certain programs on some campuses recommend them. That's why it's really, really important to research your campus and your major when you are ready to apply to the UC. And we will have a little bit more information on testing later on in the presentation. So for undocumented students, we want you to know that if you're an undocumented student, you're also very much welcome to apply. And it has really, your citizenship and residency doesn't have any bearing on admissions. So you can apply. We want to be able to support you. So if you are an undocumented student, we want you to connect with us, with your counselor, to receive support in completing that application. Okay. And so I wanted to share with you this website on the University of California site, which provides a lot of resources for the undocumented student. And so there's a link here, and I will go ahead and select that link just so we can take a very quick look at some of the things that they offer. So if you can, hopefully you can see my screen well. But it talks about applying to the UC, application fee waivers, tips for the undergraduate application. It talks about California residency. So it answers all of those questions you may have if you're an undocumented student. If you go to this side of the site, you can also get more information on financial aid and campus support. So this is really, really important, because if you're an undocumented student, you want to make sure that you're connecting with a support program at the university. And these are at every single university. So you can take a look at the different campuses and universities and what kinds of supports they have for the undocumented student, okay? Finding allies. So there's a lot of other programs that support the undocumented student. So this is a really great website where you can get a lot more information and information on support programs for you. Okay. Okay. So AB 540 is the California non-resident tuition exemption. And so this allows certain students that are non-residents from paying the non-resident tuition, which is usually higher than the California state resident tuition. And it also allows them to apply to different types of state financial aid, as well as it gives them a UC application fee waiver. So if you're undocumented and you don't know if you qualify for AB 540, please check in with your counselor and we will help you figure out if you qualify or if you are already AB 540. There's also a link down here to get more information on the California non-resident tuition exemption known as AB 540. So the UC application, going back to the application, this application is just one application for all campuses. So you're not going to submit individual applications to each school. It's only available online via desktop or mobile view. Once the application is submitted, copies are sent to every campus that you select. And so every campus will receive the same application, and every campus will review the application independently of one another. So UC Berkeley will review your application separate from UC Santa Cruz and any other school that you apply to. The general admission process does not allow for interviews or supplemental materials. A lot of students may think that they need to have letters of recommendation for the UC application, but that's not true. So you are not required to do this. This is only by invitation. So if students are applying to a specific major that requires a supplemental material like a letter of recommendation or a portfolio or an audition, the school will let you know. So for example, UC Santa Barbara dance and music majors are required to submit an audition. So so in general, you will not need to submit these. The school will let you know if you need to submit one, or you can, when you do your campus and major exploration, you can find that information as well. So you can prepare to have those things ready. Communication with applicants is gonna happen via email. So this, we cannot stress enough. I know that sometimes you get bombarded with a lot of email, but it's so important that you check your email regularly and that you respond to all of the requests in a timely manner. And so it's also important to note that we need you to have a reliable professional email address for use when creating your UC and other college planning accounts that's separate from your student Gmail account for North Salinas High School. And this is because if you use your student email account, it is going to become deactivated shortly after graduation. And so the schools will have no way of contacting you, or it may be difficult for them to reach you. So you want to make sure that you have a professional, reliable email that you use specifically for these purposes, okay? And that you check that regularly. So make it a habit to check your email every day, clean it out every day, make sure that you're responding to anything that they need. So that's really, really important. Here's an application timeline. So these are important dates for you to remember. We all know that August 1st is when the UC application opened. You can submit your application between November 1st and the 30th. And so it's important to note that the applications are not reviewed on a first come, first served basis. So it doesn't matter if you submit your application on November 1st versus November 5th. They're not gonna review it first if you turn it in on November 1st, right? So anytime between the 1st and the 30th is when you can submit that application. You will be notified of the school's admission decisions between February and March. This is when the school will let you know whether or not you're accepted. And then May 1st is another important date because this is when you have to submit your statement of intent to register. So this is when you have to commit to the school that you are going to. Okay, so that's an important timeline. And again, all of this information is going to be on our website. So you don't really have to take screenshots or anything like that. Everything will be posted for you. And then before you start the application, we want you to be ready and obtain some of the following documents and information so you're prepared to get started. It's really important to have your unofficial transcript. And in order to get one from North Salinas High School, you can contact one of us, your counselor, or the counseling department secretary, and her email is there, or via Google Hangout. And she responds really quickly to email and Google Hangout, so you can go ahead and check in with her and request that unofficial transcript. If you've gone to a community college like Hartnell, you can also view, if you've attended Hartnell, for example, you can view your unofficial Hartnell transcript by logging into your Hartnell PAWS account. So that's the way you can access it. And you would have to go into the main menu and then select an official transcript to view that, okay? So you don't have to wait until your official transcript comes in. You can just look at the one in your PAWS account. Test scores are important to have if this applies to you, your social security number or DACA social security number or ITIN, if you have one, okay? Social security number, it's important to note that it's not required to have in order to apply. So this is only if you have one. It's important to know your citizenship status, your parents' citizenship status, total annual income for your household, your parents' employment background, the California statewide student ID, and this is in the upper left-hand corner of your North Salinas High School transcript, and you will see the acronym, and I'll make sure to post the acronym here so that you can find that easily. We also want to make sure that you consider your majors and campuses before you get started, so do all of that campus major exploration prior to starting your application. Write your responses to your personal insight questions, and then it'd be great if you could also create a document that outlines some of the activities and awards and volunteer or work experience that you've done. And then it's important for you to be ready with your method of payment, which is either credit card or check, just in case you don't qualify for the fee waiver. So when some of you may have already started your application, but this is basically what it looks like when you log in. This is the button you select to apply now, and then here's the link to the University of California application. Once you log into your account, you'll be able to see this menu here with the application status, the My Account, the Sign Out, and the Help. Under the application status, this is where you will see any open or submitted applications, and you can edit some of the information. Under My Account, this is where you can view and edit your email and your password. This is self-explanatory. And then Help is, they do have some frequently asked questions and answers for you, and some contact information for the UC application. And overall, through the application, there are 7 total sections and tabs that you'll have to complete and go through. You're really encouraged to go through the application in a sequential order because, for instance, some details that are shared earlier in the application will determine questions further along. And there's an example here on the PowerPoint where answering the family income question, which is in the About You category, will determine if you qualify for a fee waiver when you reach the, let's see, the scholarships and programs, or one of the other sections that are further along.
Yeah, it's campuses and majors.
Okay. And so now I will go ahead and pass it over to, before we switch over to Ms. Oliver, I just wanted to see if there were any questions.
All righty. Hi, guys. I just wanted to make sure I could get my screen shared there for you. Now I will continue with some of the sections of the application, and I'll walk you guys through. I'll go back and forth from the presentation to the actual application. I created a sample account with my own information to kind of look and see the actual application, but there's also going to be screenshots. So once you're starting to apply, you will create your own account. You will use your professional email address, and you will create a password that fits their parameters. Once you do that, it's going to show you the screen on the left that asks you what semester you are applying for. And for most of you guys that are seniors, you are applying for the fall 2021 semester. You are applying as freshmen because you are going to be graduating from high school, so you would start as freshmen. If anyone is learning more so that they can do 2 years at a community college and transfer, those students would apply as transfer students. But for the purposes of this presentation, students who would be applying right now for next year would be applying as freshmen for fall of 2021. Once you save and continue, it's going to show you a little screen on the right side. And it says it's your time to shine, and then you'll start the application there. On the About You section, it is to set the context of who you are. So it's going to ask you questions about you, and it also will ask you a lot of questions about your family, your parents or guardians, and other information. As Ms. Vargas said, some of that information is used to determine fee waivers for the campuses later on. This helps the universities understand your unique environment and community. So they're understanding your household, but also a little bit about where you are from. Nothing shared will hurt your chances. We want to emphasize the UC selection process is an additive process. So information can only help you. So a lot of students may fear putting certain information on their applications, and there's nothing to fear with that because there's never going to be a point where something counts against you. It is only additive, meaning things can only add to your application. They will not hurt your application. The About You section consists of questions about your parents or guardians, their level of education, their occupation. As Ms. Vargas mentioned, it will ask you your citizenship and residency. So for AB 540, you can choose no selection for country of origin. It will ask for your social security number or DACA, SSN, or ITIN. And again, there was more information on that for the undocumented students in the previous slide. And for any other questions about that, we can definitely answer those in more detail at our Saturday college application workshops. It will also ask you about parents or guardians of the household. It's going to ask you the parents or guardians at your permanent residence where you spend more of your time. So I know it can get a little tricky when students are split between multiple households. So it's really where you spend most of your time. And that's where you're going to report the income for the household as well. They're going to ask you for the total income, and it is important that this question is answered accurately. One way that you can find out this information is by asking your parents or guardians to view their annual gross income on their tax forms. It will also ask you the number of people in your family or household that are supported by this total income. So if you have siblings, you're going to count those, and you're going to count yourself as well. So you want to make sure that that number includes your parents or guardians, your siblings, and yourself in that number. And again, any of these questions you can ask us, and we definitely will help guide you because, again, this is important in terms of determining other things later on, like the fee waiver. If I go over to the application, just to show you guys, so if I click on About You and I go to Personal Information, I was signed in, so let me sign back in. It does log you out if you're not in for very long, just to make sure it's secure. So if you go to About You, it'll show that I have all these to do, and it's going to show that I need to input my personal information, contact, citizenship and residency, demographics, background, household, and parent information. So if you look at, let's say, background, just to go to do, it's going to ask you, it wants to tell you, like Ms. Vargas said, it wants to do sequential order. So a lot of times it's going to tell you, hey, you need to do something first. So I'm going to go back up to the first one, and it's going to ask me to put in my information there. So I'm not going to go through everything there, but just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like in terms of the actual application. Going back to the slides, if I go to the next one, here are some screenshots as well. So I didn't go too thoroughly into my application, but you can see there's a spot for personal information. You want to make sure that you're putting your full legal name and make sure that it's consistent with other information that you submit, or if it's your financial aid application later, we want to make sure that your full legal name is consistent, because I know sometimes that students put different legal names or different names for different applications, and when it's not consistent, that can mess up things in the system. So whatever your name is that is listed on your school records, on your transcript, that would be the best name to put on your personal information. You're going to input the citizenship and residency as shown right here. And then there's information about your household. I know it's a small screenshot, so you can't see everything, but you can get an idea of that. And then the parent household information, talking about what your parent's relationship to you is, because sometimes it may be a step parent or another legal guardian. And then the parent's highest level of education. So you may need to ask your parents or guardians about some of these questions. It's definitely helpful if they are with you or can give you this information as you're submitting it. Next, we are going to go on to campuses and majors. And for campuses and majors, we have a few links here that are very useful, and they're also going to be available on additional resources. I'm going to click on this one here because Ms. Vargas actually did already click on this link before, and she walked you guys through this. But if you click on this link here, it's actually a PDF, and it is awesome because it is a PDF of all of the campuses and all of their majors. And for any of you guys who are fluent with the find function, you can do Control F and you can search for specific things. So if you want to find biology, you can look and see there's 109 different options for biology. So that's definitely a more popular major. So this is a great resource if you're not sure what campus that you want to attend yet, but you know what kind of major you want to attend, because really it's best to pick your campuses. Obviously, we want to pick ones that are beautiful and attractive and the ones that we've dreamed of going to, but we also want to make sure that they have our major. And I'll speak more on that later, because I know for me that definitely was a factor in terms of schools I applied to as well. And you guys will have access to this, so I recommend going to that link as well and just checking it out. And again, using the find function is really easy. Just search for different majors so you don't have to read through the entire page. Campus is the major. So when you're selecting your campuses, you can select as many campuses as you would like. But just know that you do pay for each one that you select. So it's not one fee for all of them, it's a fee for each campus. For students who are eligible for the application fee waiver, which Mr. Davison will talk more about later, it covers 4 university campuses. So that equals about $280 worth of applications, which is awesome. Application fee is normally $70 per campus. This is the same as the CSU application fee. And universities are not ranked in order of preference, meaning that you're not going to put UC Berkeley first on the top of the list because it's your first choice. So it doesn't matter. They're sent to all of the campuses, and decisions are made on an individual basis. It's independent of one another, so it doesn't matter what order you put them on the application. You also don't want to share any preferences on specific schools, especially like in your PIQs, because again, the application is sent to all of the campuses. So if you're writing that your dream is to attend UC San Diego, that's great. But when you're sending that to UC Davis, that's not going to help you. And it's also not going to necessarily help you with UC San Diego as well, because they're not going to take that into account in terms of application and whether they accept or deny a student. And another thing to add in terms of campuses and majors. So there is some vocabulary that you should get accustomed to as you're applying. Within each university, there are specific colleges that house different majors and programs. So if you look over at that list that I showed you before, you can see there's the College of Letters and Science, there's School of Engineering. Each campus has different colleges that they're broken up into. And the colleges signify different subject areas usually. So usually they're grouped by general subject areas. And when searching for majors, you can search by specific college while you're applying if you know where your major is housed. So that's where that document that I just showed you really comes in handy, because then you can see, okay, my major is housed in the College of Letters and Science, so I need to look into that to find my major. You can also, when you're picking out your majors for specific campuses, you can search by category too. So whatever is easier for you guys in order to find your major. And like I said, some college names are similar across universities. Like a lot of universities have the College of Letters and Science, and other names vary based on the campus. One thing I really want to point out for anyone who is interested in applying to UC San Diego, they do things a little bit differently. So when you're applying to UC San Diego, and this is only for their campus, students are required to rank their preference in college. Their colleges are broken up based on, they have a really spread out campus, and each college has different kind of like area where there are different specific dorm buildings for those colleges. And there's other things that are related to the colleges in UC San Diego that are important to consider. So it is very important to do your research, especially for UC San Diego, ahead of time. Because what I found when I actually applied to UC San Diego is I did a campus tour and I learned a lot about the campus, but I didn't learn enough about the different colleges. So when it came down to rank them, I didn't really know how to rank them, and I just ranked based on what I liked in terms of the tour. So I ranked them based on where the prettier dorm buildings were, basically. When it came down to it, and when I did get accepted and I found out what college I was in, I didn't necessarily feel connected with the college that I got admitted to. I found out more information that it was really hard to change that college at UC San Diego, and you really couldn't do it until your junior year. And I wouldn't say that's the reason I didn't attend there, but that definitely was something that factored into which college I ended up attending. So again, this is just for UC San Diego, but I did want to point that out as well. So for majors, you are going to list your intended major for each campus. You're going to check your campus majors ahead of time, as I mentioned. You can use that PDF document we're referring to, and the options may determine your school list. So again, it's best to choose your campuses based on your majors, not your major based on your campus in general. And then most campuses do allow for alternate majors too, with the exception of UC Berkeley, which only allows for one major. Some majors may be titled differently, so you want to keep an eye out for that. If you're searching for marine biology at UC Santa Barbara, it's actually called aquatic biology. So you're going to want to make sure that you know the right terminology for each campus. You can definitely apply as undeclared. It's not going to hurt your chances necessarily. You can be admitted as undeclared. However, if you decide to switch into a specific major, it may be more challenging if your new major is competitive and impacted. So what I mean by that is if you apply to a school as an undeclared major, and then you try to get into their engineering major, which is typically impacted or competitive, you might not be able to get into that major right away. Double majors or double minors are declared after the enrollment and not during the application process. So you can put your intended double major as your alternate major, but you can't declare a double major right then and there during the UC application. And again, here's some screenshots for you guys to view. You can see here that you can browse by the specific college, or you can browse by a specific category. And so most of you category is probably going to be where you're going to browse, just because you can look and see the subject area and go based on that. And on this side here, you can see that you can check off your major on the left and then your alternate major on the right. And this goes for almost every campus except for UC Berkeley. And now for academic history. So this is a very important part. All of the application sections are important, but the academic history section is very important that you do carefully and that you look it over. And if you need to, we can help you review that. You are not submitting transcripts during the application process. They are asking you to self-report, and they will ask you for official transcripts later if you are accepted. You do self-report your A through G coursework from high school and any college coursework if applicable. You can search for your high school and make sure you select the correct option. Our school code is shown there. It's 052746. You don't have to memorize that, but just make sure that it is the correct school campus, because that will help you in terms of making sure that you can pick the right classes that you've taken. If you've attended any other high schools, you do need to repeat the process for each school that you have attended. Even if it's all on one transcript now, you still want to make sure you input different high schools. For any college courses you have completed, this goes for concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment, and I'll talk about that in a second. You will input those after your high school coursework. So again, I'll mention concurrent and dual enrollment in a moment. Also, if you completed any high school level foreign language or mathematics in middle school, this doesn't apply to everyone, but for some students who maybe they took Spanish in middle school, you can report those classes without having to send an official transcript for those courses. You still have to send transcripts for high school and for college. And then the academic history. So these are parameters that are probably going to be typical for you guys as you apply. For seniors right now, your dates of attendance are most likely August 2017 to May 2021. And again, this is typical for students who have been attending North High from start to finish. If you've attended other high schools at the beginning of your high school career, just double check to make sure that this is still applicable. The grading terms and systems. North High is a grading system of A through F. And our term system is semester. Even this year, it is still considered semester term. A little tip on the right-hand side, if you did attend another high school and you're not sure about the term system, look at how many official grades you were given per year. If you were given one official grade, that is a full year. 2 is semester, 3 is trimester, and 4 is quarter. Course options. So course options will be listed in a drop-down menu. If a course is not listed, for instance, intermediate band might not be listed, but you can manually enter it. And there's an area later on with additional comments, which Mr. Pavison will talk about, where you can explain more in detail. Reporting your grades for fall 2017 through spring of 2020. Typically, it's going to be grade 1 is your fall grade, grade 2 is your spring grade. For seniors, this is how the UC system wants you to report your grades. It may be slightly different from what the CSU is requesting, but we want you to make sure that you are taking this into account as you apply for UCs. So the senior grade reporting, and this was verified today through the UC office, we did call them and make sure. Since you guys do have official fall grades now, you have official grades for 3 of your classes, you will input the grades for those 3 classes as grade 1 for fall term. For grade 2 for fall term, you will put in progress, as those are the 3 classes that you are currently in right now. For spring, for grade 1 and grade 2, you will put planned and planned, because you're not in them yet, but you will be taking them in the spring. Again, if you have any questions about academic history, we are here for you in terms of our Saturday application workshops where we can walk you guys through this in more detail. In terms of some other useful tips, if you're in AP Economics, it is AP Macroeconomics, not Micro. The only listed honors courses are World History Honors and Chemistry Honors. So unfortunately, even though there are things on your transcripts that may say GATE or Plus or Advanced or H, they're actually regular courses. They're not honors or AP. On your transcript, it'll still show as that when you send your official transcript. But for self-reporting, the only two honors that can be self-reported are World History and Chemistry. And in the drop-down menu, you may see Edmentum courses, and those ones are online Plato and Clever courses, just for your reference. Academic history for college courses. You're going to report any college course you have completed. This includes concurrent enrollment courses you have taken at a community college or online through a community college, as a lot of the community college classes right now are fully online. Dual enrollment students. So if dual enrollment courses you have taken, even if they're taken at North High, you will input them as your college courses. This goes for Counseling 1 and English 1A. So for students who are currently in English 1A, you'll actually not report it on your high school academic history. You're going to report it on your college academic history. Don't worry, because college courses can still satisfy A through G, so it'll still match up and it'll still give you the credit for the 4 years of English. You were just inputting it as a college course, and that actually does benefit you in that too. For dual enrollment, as I mentioned, you're not inputting the 12th grade English, but you are doing it on the college course reporting, and you will list it as in progress, since official grades are not official for English 1A and for dual enrollment courses until December. And test scores, as we mentioned, for class of 2021, SAT, ACT scores are optional. If a student has a test score they want to send, they're welcome to do so. Students will not be penalized if they do not submit test scores. We understand, and the colleges understand, that it's very difficult, if not impossible right now, to even take the SAT or ACT. So it is optional. You will not be penalized. Scores are self-reported, and official reports are not sent until the spring. So if you are reporting scores, you report them in the fall, and then you send your score report in the spring. SAT subject tests are encouraged but not required. Universities may make recommendations on specific subject tests depending on a student's intended major. So for students who are going into maybe engineering or architecture, they may recommend a math subject test. That's just an example. However, the recommendations have been modified as well for the class of 2021. My understanding is that they probably have modified them and simplified them because of the inaccessibility in terms of testing right now. AP test scores will not count against you no matter the score. We want you to report all of your scores no matter what. We understand there may be scores you might not want to report, but they want full transparency. And again, the process is additive, so it's not going to penalize you. They would prefer you report the test scores or indicate the date you took or plan to take the exam. And if admitted, again, you'll ask to be sent the scores for verification as well. And activities and awards. So this is the section that focuses on how you spend your time outside of the classroom. Now that they've seen your academic history, they're going to look at what you are involved in. This helps to understand your unique passions, talents, and potential. You only want to list activities that you've done from 9th through 12th grade. It doesn't have to be in high school, but you don't want to list things from middle school or elementary because they won't take that into account. And the UC system does not have a preference between any extracurricular activities. This means that whether you're involved in sports or clubs or volunteering or working or even babysitting, they just not want to know how you spent your time outside of the classroom. And they're not going to prioritize things like sports or clubs over things like working and supporting the family or babysitting to support your family or anything like that. They're focused on looking at your commitment. So how long and how often have you been involved? How many years have you been involved? And how often, let's say per week or per month, do you get involved in that? They want to see the progression. So you demonstrated growth over time on skills. So by that, they want to see if you have focused on specific skills and activities in those extracurriculars and what exactly you've done. And leadership, of course. So they want to know any roles you've held and any leadership qualities you possess. So this is essentially kind of like a resume. And again, this is why Ms. Vargas said to list information that you had ahead of time so you have this section ready to go. I believe I am moving on to Mr. Tavison, who will finish up the rest of the presentation. So I will switch screens with him right now.
Awesome. So, hi everybody. So, now the following section after the activities is scholarships. So, this is a great opportunity for you as a student to apply to some scholarships in hopes of getting free money, right? So, all UC campuses offer scholarships for students who meet specific criteria. The applicants should review each scholarship choice and select all those that match. So, for example, there's characteristics, there's interests and backgrounds, and there is no limit to amount of scholarships a student can apply. So these are the different type of sections that will fall under this section here. Also, too, depending on the UC campus selected, scholarship categories will appear. Please fill out the application sequential order. Apply to as many scholarships, like I said, as you would like, okay? Um, the UC award scholarships to the student, just like I told you on the different characteristics, okay? So make sure that you guys answer all these questions and apply to as many scholarships as needed. In addition to these scholarships, there is also a middle class scholarship and a blue and gold opportunity scholarship as well too. And it depends on the household income, on the financial aid or the financial aid that you guys will be applying for as well too. Okay. Okay, so the next section would be the programs is educational opportunity. Okay, the educational opportunity program provides assistance through mentorship, academic programs, financial assistance, counseling, advising, and other campus support service to those who are first generation college students and or from low income and educational disadvantaged backgrounds. In addition to assisting students through to graduation, EOP helps prepare students for admissions to graduate and professional schools. EOP serves students from all ethnic backgrounds and is open to only to California residents and to American Indians from any state. To be considered for EOP, you should indicate your interest when you complete the online application. Be sure to fill out your parents' level of education, family size, and household income later in the application. So you must apply if you're interested, okay? And we all encourage you to apply if you fall under the categories because it's a great opportunity and great program to get assistance through the program of EOP. And this is a screenshot here that you actually see if you're interested in EOP. Okay, just the question here actually that Natalie asked here. So this is the personal insight questions section. This is how it would appear, okay? There is a total of 8 questions, but you must answer 4 questions out of the 8. What are the personal insight questions? These questions are about getting to know you better, your life experience, interests, ambitions, and inspirations. Think of it as your first interview with the admissions office. Be open, be reflective, find your individual voice and express it. While this section of the application is just one part we consider when making our admission decision, it helps provide context for the rest of the application. Okay. Just like I said before, you must answer to any 4 of the questions. It is noted that responses should be between 250 to 350 words max for each question. Okay, which questions you choose to answer is entirely up to you, but you should select questions that are most relevant to your experience and that best reflect your individual circumstances. All questions are equal. All questions are given equal consideration in the application review process, which means there is no advantage or disadvantage to choosing certain questions over others. Then I'll be talking a little bit more on the additional comment section on another slide, okay? Just remember these personal insight questions are about you, the student, okay? So you want to make sure you guys look at all the questions before answering the questions here. So I think I skipped one. Sorry. Okay, awesome. So here are some tips for the personal insight questions to get prepared, okay? It is strongly recommended that students write or type their PIQs and drafts in a separate document. Example could be Word or Google Doc or etc. rather than typing the responses directly onto the UC application at the time that you're actually applying. This is because now they integrated a 20-minute time out function in the new application. That means that if you don't save your application within the two, if you don't, if there's no, if, sorry about that, if there's no activity within 20 minutes, your application will automatically not save anything, so it'll time off. So you want to make sure that, you know, if by any means, at any given time you're in your application, but you're going to be moving on, or you just want to do a certain piece of the section, you want to go ahead and click save and continue, so it will go ahead and save all your work. But for this tip here, you want to make sure that you guys get this information drafted on a Google Doc or Word, so that way you guys have that information ready to go. Always tie it back to yourself. Use I or my statements. Remember, it's not an essay. Structure is not graded. Must be in your own words. Make the examples relevant to yourself today. Bring the reader forward to explain who you are in high school. So very, very strong tips here. Okay, now, just like Mrs. Oliver stated here, and Ms. Vargas, so this is another section where it ties in additional comment sections, okay? Students can use this space to tell the readers anything they would like for them to know about you. It's also in a space for you guys to provide, academic or non-academic information, and please do not continue one of your PIQ responses. This is also a place to provide detailed information or explanations about specific academic issues. For example, declining grades, poor selections issues. And also, just like Miss Oliver stated, there may be a class that is not A through G on the drop-down box, which you want to indicate here. You want to indicate the course and the reason behind that. For example, the comment could be, my school accidentally left a class out on the UC course list. However, my school plans to add the course retroactively. So make sure you reach out to your counselor so that way they can help you out with this if that's one of the situations that you want to add, depending on the class that is not under the drop-down course there. Okay, now coming to this avoiding common mistakes. You want to stay focused and try to avoid these. For example, acronyms. They won't look it up. The readers won't look it up, so please spell it out. Quotations or dialogue. They want to know your thoughts and words, not someone else's. Philosophy, don't ask questions, just tell them what you mean. Creative writing, no poems, cliches, or hiccups. Titles, you don't need to restate the prompts. No flowering language, just keep it specific and use your regular vocabulary. No storytelling or scene setting. They don't need to be in the moment with you. Keep it professional, no slang or abbreviations. Jokes and sarcasm, it's inappropriate. Use of humor and not helpful during the PIQ section here. And now coming to a conclusion for submitting your application. This is the section review and submit. As you can see here on the right, it shows all these sections that have been successfully completed by them showing a check mark. If it's not showing a check mark, that means that that section has not been fully completed and fully completed. So you want to double check on that before you submit. In addition, you want to review your application more than once before you submit. Have a counselor or support staff review your application before you submit. Make sure you have completed all sections. Before submitting, you can print a copy version of your application for your records. In addition, prior to submitting, you must acknowledge the following 4 steps, okay? And that's when Ms. Oliver talked about the A through G, making sure that all courses fall under and are credited. At the same time, your state of legal residence, which I'll talk about, the sign and release, documentation, and last but not least, your payment. And we'll talk about that as well right now. So this right here is talking about the A through G courses, just making sure that everything is correctly inputted, and you don't want to miss any of those at all. And this is how it appears here. And second of all, here, as you can see, there's also missing. So that tells you exactly which ones are missing and the numbers of courses that are missing. So say if you took 3 years of math, but you actually put only 2 years, it's going to go ahead and prompt it right here, as in the math section, saying that you're missing 1 more class, or vice versa with the science. If you took 2 years, but you only inputted 1, it's going to indicate exactly there how many courses are you missing there as well. Okay, now, and we talked about this a few slides before. So as Ms. Oliver mentioned in the section about you want to really focus on entering that information because at the end, this is what determines if you're eligible for a fee waiver. And if you are eligible for a fee waiver, remember you get up to 4 fee waivers free. And what you're going to have to do is on this section here, when it comes out in the billing summary, you want to go ahead and indicate yes. Yes, you want to go ahead and attain the 4 fee waivers. And I'll give you guys another information how it looks as well here. So this is a little bit more clear. So on that section, it says fee waiver. It says you qualify up, for UC application fee waiver. You must indicate yes in order for you to be able to attain that fee waiver. And also click I reviewed my application entirely. Okay, so you want to double check, make sure everything is accurate here. Okay, coming down to it and already having everything set up. Once you have completed and submitted, this is the submission confirmation. Here's a summary of your application and fees. Please print a copy of your submission confirmation and your application using the buttons below. You will want to keep these documents for your records. You will also receive an email. So this is the information that you want to keep securely, okay? Somewhere that's secure, that whenever you could come back and retrieve, this is what you want to have right here, because you're going to need this application ID, okay? So now here, for example, remember, just like Ms. Oliver mentioned, each campus is, the cost is $70. So for example, here, the student selected 2 courses. The amount here is 140. So say if you actually receive the fee waivers for the 4 fee waivers, that's $280, just like Ms. Oliver stated before, okay? Then the next one is going to be here. Okay, so I forgot real quick the slide, but you want to make sure the payment method is going to be either by credit card or through a check. If you're going to be paying by check, you're going to have to mail it off. That's why it is preferably through a credit card, okay? So once your application status is completed, this right here gives you the opportunity to come back if you want to make some adjustments here, some edits. And this is the way that you can go ahead and verify from here. And also, if you want to go ahead and say, if you ever do want to update your ACT or SAT, this is where you would come in through your application and about application status. Or if you change your mailing address or if you move, this is the personal information that you want to update as well. And last but not least, if you want to apply to any other colleges, and only if they're available and open, this is where you could go ahead and apply to other colleges only if they're open. And once again, this is our link here. This will take you directly to start your UC application here. As you can see, just all you have to do is just click it. And this is a great, great resource, everybody. If you're having any issues or need help during the time that you're applying, here is a link that is live. And these are some contact numbers as well, too, that you could get also assistance right then and there and ask for additional help. Say if you can't get a hold of a counselor or a support system, this is the contact information that will allow you to get some questions answered professionally through the UC department. And these are additional resources through links here. There's a variety. If you want to get started on a worksheet with the PIQs, the list of all campuses, majors, also the entrance exam, list of majors. So this is a ton of information here that also is going to be very helpful for you guys during your application process. And remember, everybody, we have 4 Saturday sessions that will be helping students on their college planning and financial aid workshops starting as of tomorrow and the following week, which is the 24th. And 2 will be hosting 2 of them in November 14th and 11/21 from 12 to 2. And the link to attend is right down the Google Meet. And we hope to see you all there. And we're excited, very excited for all you guys. You guys all worked so hard up to now. These past 4 years have been, one of the blessing moments for us counselors to see you guys embark on this new pathway. So we're here and we're proud of you. And I would conclude with that.
Hey guys, so just to check in, please go ahead and post your questions in the chat box, or at this point you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your questions. I just wanted to remind you all and stress that there are so many resources out there to help you along the way. And so the UC Application Help Center is extremely useful. We call it all of the time because obviously we don't have all of the answers all of the time. And so I actually called it twice today, and they're super helpful. So if you are completing your application and you're running into an issue, or you don't know how to answer, or whatever question you have, you call them, press 0, and you'll be connected right away. I got through immediately. I didn't have to wait, not even 5 minutes. I got through right away, and they were able to help me answer my questions. So that's really helpful. The other thing that's super helpful is we're going to host those Saturday workshops that Mr. Tavison talked about. And so if you want more one-on-one support with your application, we highly recommend that you attend one of the workshops. They're from 12 to 2, correct? So it doesn't mean that you have to be there the entire time. You're not committed. If you want to come in and just have one of us review your application for accuracy before you submit, we highly, highly encourage everybody to do that, because you can make a mistake on your application. And so we always recommend that a second set of eyes, one of us checks that application for accuracy. So you can just come into the application workshop and check in for whatever, maybe 30 minutes, and then go ahead and log out. You don't have to stay. This is not it won't be a workshop like today's where you're going to stay the remainder of the time. It's just a check-in, or you'll be allowed to be there for as long as you need. Okay. So again, go ahead and post your questions in the chat box, or unmute yourself. I think there is a question already, so let's see. Ms. Vargas, for example, I received a text about the cancellation of SAT tests here in Salinas and asking me to select a new date for a new testing center, but no testing centers are open or are admitting new students. What should I do? Well, again, for the SAT, we may not have a location here locally. So one of the things you can do is ask if there is a testing site that is close enough for you to drive to. And if there is not, then remember that you're not penalized for not taking that SAT. It's not required. It's completely optional. And so you don't have to do that. And that's why it is optional this time, because of COVID. Many students were never able to take that SAT or ACT, and they understand that. And that's why you will not be penalized for not having done that piece. I'll go ahead and read the next one. I missed yesterday's CSU workshop, so I was wondering if the meeting was recorded. Yes, so the meeting was recorded, and it will be posted to the Senior Google Classroom as well as our school website. And this one is also being recorded and will be posted to the Google Classroom as well as our website. So you can reference back, you can check on the links and review the information, okay? Okay. Any other questions or comments?
One thing to add with the Saturday workshops too, guys, is you can go to more than one. So if you go to one of them and then you're working on your application and you decide you want to go to another one in November to finish it up, you're more than welcome to attend as many as you'd like. We're happy to help.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. We'll see some of you tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, 12 or 2. I'll be there.
Bye.